back, J2 fam. We here with Coach Newman, receivers coach for SBU. Welcome to the pod.
What's going on, y'all?
But our first question gonna be like, tell us how you got here. Tell us why you chose to coach football.
Man, not a problem. First of all, I appreciate this, man. This is absolutely a blast. Kind of a bit about my journey, dog. I'm originally from Houston, Texas.
So my dad's from.
Oh, okay. Where are you from?
Just Houston. That's all.
Gotcha. Everything about Houston, man, it is obviously the biggest city in Texas, but it's a small world too. You know what I'm saying? It's like one thing about Houston, everybody know everybody. You know what I'm saying? If you really got motion out there, but. Originally from Houston, Texas. I grew up in Missouri City on the southwest side of town. Went to Hightower High School. You know what I'm saying? And one of the premier high schools out in the area, for sure, in that PISD district. And graduated there. Went on to East Texas Baptist to play college football. Was there for about a couple of years, and then transitioned into NAI high school out in the state as well. And then once I graduated. I began my coaching career at Houston Christian University. At the time, we were Houston Baptist. Spent a lot of time there. Was around a lot of great coaches. You know what I'm saying? And I had a chance to work with two great head coaches and learned a lot from them, and some great coordinators as well, and a bunch of the position coaches on staff, the other QCs that I worked with too. All great people, and from there I went on to Millsaps College, which is where I'm recently come from. I spent about a year there in Jackson, Mississippi, and had a blast. I enjoyed it. Coach Lickberg did a real good job of getting those guys prepared and putting in a great position to be successful on and off the field. And so, and then the institution alone, just the people there were just awesome people. You know what I'm saying? So I got a lot out of that. And it's crazy how this opportunity came about. It was actually we just. Wrapped up a recruiting visit during the week, and Coach Hansen, who he reached out to me. This opportunity came about for him, and asked if I wanted to join him on staff. And I knew Coach Hansen. He coached my younger brother at Mid-American Nazareth, which is where he was coming from. And they were very successful, and one thing I love throwing football, and he does that pretty great. And so just watching him, obviously going to go watch my brother, and the things that he did for him. As a person, obviously earned my respect. And so when he reached out and told me about this opportunity, let alone to go up a level with football, Division II football is, elite football. There's a lot of talent on this level. And, it's definitely something that caught my eye, and, praying about it, talking with family, and, just knowing too, one thing about myself I'm real big on is that you got to learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to grow and get to where you want to be, in your career, life in general. You know what I'm saying? You got to go through some discomfort. And, being from Texas, I didn't forget, when I took the Millsaps job, that was my first time ever living outside the state of Texas. So, just, again, having to go through things to, find things out, not just about myself as a coach, but as a man as well. And, it did a lot of good for me there. Obviously, with, the connections I made, the success we had year one there, we did a lot of great things, turning that program around, getting it back to his historic ways, and it's kind of the same situation we're walking into here with Southwest Baptist. Obviously, you guys have had great success in the last couple of years. Just obviously, one is great years, and obviously we got to get it back there. So, big reason when Coach reached out and told me about this opportunity, I took the job, and now I'm here in Beaumont. You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited. And can't wait to get this thing rocking and rolling.
For sure.
So, absolutely.
You talked about when you moved to Millsap, that was your first time out of Texas. What were some of the adjustments that you had to make lifestyle-wise, and what are some adjustments that you've already made coming here?
Well, I'll definitely say, as much as I love Texas, there's no other state like it. But at the same time, too, I think, looking back, too, there was a lot of familiarity, just being in the South in general. You know what I'm saying? So it was actually not as bad as an adjustment. Big thing for me was obviously just, getting create some independence for myself. Really having to make, some choices where, again, when I was at Houston Christian, I was home. So I'm around my parents, around a lot of family. So I got support, you know what I'm saying? So being at Millsaps, obviously you get support from far, but, again, I'm really on my own. I got to make wise choices as it is, just being, as a person, you know what I'm saying? So I had a chance to do that, and it taught me so much, being smart, financially.
That's a big one.
And it's a super big one, dog. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing I tell athletes too. Like, it's things I'm learning with myself. Where again, obviously, we're now. I guess that's why I feel I'm such a great fit when it comes with student athletes, because again, we're all going through the same thing. We're probably in a different point in our lives, but trust me, we're all learning and growing too. You know what I'm saying? So, that was definitely the big thing, just as far as that, and then just make sure I'm surrounding myself around good people too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the great thing with again being away from home. Was I was around a lot of great people that were like minded like myself, that obviously had goals where they wanted to go up in their profession or just be great at where they're at. You know what I'm saying? The common goals that we all wanted to be great, and so that helped a lot more than anything. So it kept me focused and not having to be around certain other groups of people that weren't the best fit for me, because at the end of the day I represent something. I got things to lose as well too. So that was definitely the two big things for sure that was an adjustment, but it wasn't as hard that a lot of people would expect. You know what I'm saying? So
You got a pretty interesting career. Like you started out in college and like working your way up through there. Like many other like coaches go to like high school and start out there. So like, what made you like start out in college and like not go to high school? Because I know a lot of people like to go back and coach at their alma maters and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I definitely give a shout out to a lot of high school coaches. Specifically the coaches that I played for in high school. I think that was a big reason why I got into coaching, was a lot of the great coaches I had when I was in high school. You know what I'm saying? Specifically when I was at Hightower, had a lot of great coaches that came through, and it's actually I'll give him a quick shout out, Matthew Gregg. Coach Gregg, who's now defensive backs coach at Texas State University. He was the linebackers coach my senior year at Hightower High School. You know what I'm saying? So it just goes to show that there's great coaching on every level. Obviously being in the state of Texas is, pretty good. But it's great everywhere, I don't mean to go all over the place, but that's one thing that I'm appreciative for Millsaps College for, is it gave me the chance to see football in other places and, see that, hey, man, there's great ball everywhere, you know what I'm saying? It's just, you ain't got to be so blunt and, biased.
Some people think it's just a Texas.
Which is true, you know what I'm saying? And I tell you this, man, when I first got to Millsaps, man, they just give me a hard time about it. Like, oh, he's so Mr. Texas everything, which, I was at one point, but I'm appreciative for learning football in other great areas too. Like, Louisiana has great football. A lot of talent out that way in the state. Alabama has some ballers now. You know what I'm saying? I was super impressed when we went to go check out some high schools out that way. Leeds High School. Thompson is another great high school out that way too. So it was, like I said, pretty good experience for myself. And, again, you meet great coaches as well, and it just reminded me of what I experienced when I was in high school. Just again being around those great coaches, like again Matthew Gregg, he's now FBS Division I, college coach now. He was again talking about a couple years ago. He was coaching high school ball in Texas, and there was many other great coaches on the staff. I mean, I can talk. The list goes on, but learned a lot from them, and obviously it just inspired me to want to pursue that. So but I was told this too from actually a coach I worked for early in my career, is that it's great that you start off in college. You know what I'm saying? And the big reason why is because obviously the connections you make, at the early parts of it. You're around a lot of guys that they end up, 5 years from now at bigger places. So you build that network more than anything, and you learn a lot. You know what I'm saying? And that, again, that's where I credit so much with Houston Christian is. I was around a lot of great coaches that are very knowledgeable and, we're great with the X's and O's and teaching more than anything. And, coaches, I say this, great coaches always steal other great things, you know what I'm saying, from other people, and it's more like, I picked a lot of what, each coach did and applied it to my own. And again, it's a big reason why, I am where I'm at today, just doing that. So, but again, sorry to backtrack, but why I decided to do college first, because, also one thing too that if, down the road, if I want to go the high school route, we have that college, experience on the resume.
That's
so, in which, that's what, a lot of high school coaches want too. A lot of high school programs want to treat their programs as, college football programs. You know what I'm saying? It's more important they can prepare their kids. And so, it's definitely, again, something that I knew, again, if I wanted to be in the same for a second, and starting college, see where that can take me, especially while I'm young and don't have too many responsibilities other than just taking care of myself at the moment. You know what I'm saying? And so see what you get out of it. You never know where it can take you. You know what I'm saying? At least say, go and try it before you say, oh, it's not what I really want to do. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
Definitely.
You talked about like all the different coaches that you either played under, like for high school, and then you coached with, and how they were all good coaches, had good things. And then you even talked about how every coach steals from things from another one. What are some things that you learned and applied to your coaching style that helped you to be a good coach?
Well, I definitely say the art of teaching. Details is everything. You know what I'm saying? And the other people see it too. And I say other people, other coaches. You know what I'm saying? One thing that coaches want to look on film when they're scouting the team, are these kids well coached? You know what I'm saying? So that was the big thing I learned early in my career. A lot of this, I'll give a shout out to Coach Cormier, who was the offensive coordinator in my first year at Houston Christian. That's one thing he worked on me about. You know what I'm saying? Just being real sharp on the details when you're explaining things, when you're demonstrating things, when you're presenting things too. You know what I'm saying? Like the little things matter, and if you're not harping on that, if you're not, detail oriented attention and have great attention to detail, you're going to struggle in this profession. So that was the big thing. Relationships is another thing as well too that I had to learn quick, and I'm not trying to name drop or anything, but I'll give another shout out to defense coordinator at Millsaps College. Coach Julian John Baptiste. Like one thing that and he does such a great job just getting his guys prepared and definitely defensively. But he's real big on relationships. He's going to coach you hard. But he's going to love you harder too. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of guys see that, and a lot of guys respect it. So, the two biggest things that I can definitely take away for sure is like, being easy to the oriented, especially when you're teaching, and just having a relationship with your guys through. You know what I'm saying? Because you ain't going to go through a brick wall for guys that, you can't trust, going to war with, So that was definitely two big things I learned and took away from life. And there's multiple things. I mean, the list can go on. One thing that, I was told by another coach too is that you need to be a sponge. Soak it all in. You know what I'm saying? Everywhere you go, and don't ever stop learning too. I think that's where, again, most coaches take in their career, and obviously, they got the right to do so, being where they're at now and doing great things, but, they struggle to stop learning. Don't ever stop learning. Always be willing to learn, because you never know. You know what I'm saying? The game changes, especially with a lot of these things with, NIL and whatnot. Like, it's definitely a different game than what it was when I was in high school. You know what I'm saying? So, definitely got to make sure, again, you're always willing to learn, be a sponge on anything. So,
Well, speaking of the NIL and stuff, like, what's your thoughts about that, like about the portal and things like that?
It's different. It definitely has an effect on, high school athletes, which is what I noticed. It's definitely something where, again, I'm still trying to get more familiar with myself, just understanding it and, the legalities behind it all too. So, definitely getting a feel for it, because again, with us too, especially if we're wanting to bring in guys to help our football team, you getting to work, getting the portal, and a lot of those guys really do it, again, too, to see if there's some NIL they can get out of it. You know what I'm saying? Does your school have a collective fund? Is there some type of, cost of attendance that y'all are doing, and again, like, talking to a lot of Division I guys who had that cost of attendance being where they're at. It's not necessarily the case with Division II.
Yeah.
You guys may get a check, twice out the year, and that's, for every semester at the end. So it varies, it does, but like I said, it's definitely something if I want to continue to grow and stay in this profession, especially, collegially, excuse me. Well, definitely got to learn more about it and again, use it to an advantage as well. I definitely think there's benefits to it. Say if it's used the right way. You know what I'm saying? More importantly, taught the right way as well. So,
For sure. We talked about the portal, like recruiting and all that. What's something that you look for in a player, like some core values that you think makes a good football player, and that you would look for when recruiting?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is, there's a bunch of cliche answers that I can talk about. One thing that, I look for is just, definitely the mental aspect of it. Because there's a lot going into being a collegiate athlete. You know what I'm saying? Like, just more than anything, can you handle, one, just being independent. Again, I'll give you a perfect example. My first night at SBU, which I'll never forget. And, heck, we had a meeting the next morning, and, obviously I'm at home. My bedtime's 9 o'clock. Well, it's 8:45, and, we had a couple our friends at the time that, were there early for volleyball that asked, hey, you guys want to come to the store with us? Well, heck, I mean, shoot, we couldn't go to the store. I mean, it's 8:45. We got things to do in the morning.
Yeah.
Well, mom and dad ain't telling you, hey, you need to stay in the room, go to bed. You know what I'm saying? Like that. A lot of those choices, like, again, little choices where you know you got things you need to do and, other responsibilities. All right, but if you're going to go and do all these other things as well, you got to know what to prioritize as well. So the mental aspect is knowing that he can come in and, again, guys are going to struggle. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's routine that you got to get used to. And, the big thing is just minimize the mistakes you make doing it, and don't get so caught up in the extra stuff either. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I look for and try to gauge early with a student athlete. How I do that is obviously, there's, for example, you gotta get accepted in school. So how are you moving on the application process? If I'm having to keep following up with you, hey, you need to get this done, get this turned in, that type of deal, then obviously that's something I'm doing now. Imagine once you get here and, I got to tell you, hey, man, you need to study this formation. You need to study this new motion. You got to come in for this play here. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a whole bunch of other little things that, again, like, if I'm telling you now and I'm peeping that early within the process, then I know down the road it's going to be an issue. So just little things like that. Obviously talent is a big thing too, especially on this level. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, fast guys, have an advantage. You know what I'm saying? Strong guys have an advantage too. You know what I'm saying? Got the best of both worlds. You can really be a good football player. You know what I'm saying? And so, sometimes you may have one better than the other. You know what I'm saying? But, again, it's my job too to get you developed and put you in a position to where when you get on the football field, you're ready and more importantly, able to execute. So those obviously three big things more than anything. And then obviously, in this very school, is he a fit for this university?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's one thing I had to learn being in Millsaps actually was, can this kid be at an institution like this? Can he, one thing that, we knew you were going to stay at Millsaps if you were involved with other things on campus. You know what I'm saying? Now, obviously, you're there to play football. You know what I'm saying? But what are you doing interacting with other students, in the university? Because, again, we talked about it earlier, making connections so that you can get certain internships, certain opportunities, maybe a job after you graduate. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong, it's cool that you hang around a bunch of athletes, but what if you hung around this person that was, maybe a bit more invested into, your major that you know? You know what I'm saying? Well, heck, you never know where that connection can lead to. You know what I'm saying? And so, is that person that type of fit where he can do that at this institution? You know what I'm saying? And obviously, being here at Southwest Baptist School, we're a Baptist school. It's faith, a lot of faith principles that we teach in our university. Well, again, it's this, that is, super religious. Is he not? You know what I'm saying? But where does he stand when it comes to that? It's so many different factors to where, again, that stuff you got to point out because, just like anything else, retention is important. You know what I'm saying? Can we have that student, will that student come back? Or more, heck, even this too, will he stay? You know what I'm saying? Especially one thing you will notice with small school football is like, if they're not feeling it, within the first few days, heck, probably that first night, they may not last. You know what I'm saying? I think we've all experienced that being at the levels we've been at. So those are, again, four big things that I definitely look into when, evaluating prospect for sure.
Okay. So say I'm a receiver coming on a visit and I'm a receiver looking for a coach because I want to be developed. Like I want somebody who's going to hone my skills and stuff like that. Why should I choose Coach Newman and why should I choose SBU?
Well, I definitely say this. One thing that I pride myself a lot on goes back to the relationship aspect. I'm going to shoot too straightforward. The blunt answer is the best answer in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to just steer you in a direction where we're just like I'm selling you a dream. Is this is the plan. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to execute it. Understand that there's going to be some tough coaching behind it. You know what I'm saying? Because again, I was coached hard. You know what I'm saying? I was had great parents growing up, but again, we were held to certain standards and had certain expectations within the household. So it's the same principle applied to when I'm preparing my student athletes. But best believe nobody's going to have your back harder than I do. All right, and I will go to war for mine. That's I'm a firm believer that I'll stand on the table for my guys. You know what I'm saying? And again, that's the big thing more than anything. If I'm gonna go to war for you, this is what we're gonna do to make it happen. You know what I'm saying? No, it's gonna be a lot that comes with it. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, with the standards that are held, because again, and I'll say this too. And I heard this from a great coach before. I'm not a big rule guy. Just big on standards and expectations.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I'm expecting you to do a lot of things and you're going to be held to this standard. You know what I'm saying? So, that's going to be the big thing more than anything, but I promise I'm going to have you back 110%. We're going to figure out a way for sure. So, what's there for you?
We talked about you as a coach. You mentioned that you have a strong people around you, that you were raised well. And you talked about what you look for in players and people. What are some of your core values that you hold close to your heart?
Man,
That makes you who you are.
Being young myself, a lot of that I'm still trying to put together. I can definitely, mention one thing about myself and what I stand on the table as far as core value, is your work ethic. One thing about me and being, you ain't got to love me, you know what I'm saying? You ain't even got to hate me, but you want to respect how hard I work. And that's definitely something nobody can take away from me. You know what I'm saying? Just being, the guy that, was, just priding yourself on the work, you know what I'm saying, and figuring the way out, you know what I'm saying? And so definitely my hard work more than anything and applying it in everything that I do, you know what I'm saying? And it's something like, again, I see with others as well too, you know what I'm saying? Because just, hard work beats talent, but talent fails to work hard. You know what I'm saying? So again, I was, I played football, I was a quarterback. I wasn't the greatest athlete in the world, otherwise I'd still be playing. You know what I'm saying? That's just me. But, I definitely wasn't going to get outworked. I was going to work just as hard as, the 5-star that we had on the roster, too. I'm saying I was going to work just as hard as the starter that is in front of me. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to work just as hard as the kid that's the best quarterback in our district. You know what I'm saying? So, as far as standing the expectations, I have the same value that I appreciate others as well. You know what I'm saying? So, definitely that's the one big thing I can say for sure right now. Loyalty is another thing, too. I'm super loyal for the places I'm at, you know what I'm saying? I'll go back to Riverside Millsaps College. Philadelphia University was one of our rivals. I can't stand the color green, you know what I'm saying? Unless it's money, more than anything. But, just being loyal to, what you care about and for people you love more than anything. So, that's definitely two for sure that I can, definitely say are some big core values for me.
For sure. And I definitely feel you on that color green because I went to Bishop Kelly High School in Tulsa.
Okay.
And our rival was Bishop McGinnis. And one of the rules on the thing was that we couldn't wear green.
Really?
And I literally hate the color green. I literally just started wearing it again this year.
Man, so
I've been in high school for a little bit.
It's crazy. So obviously my alma mater dream, and so obviously there was, love for the color green. Still is, except if it's, in Jackson, Mississippi, I can't, Shout out to Belhaven University, good coach, so very good. We all know the swords on the one side, Riverside, so I can't complain about that. And I mean, honestly, for long still, I can stand perfect. Just because my rival high school was Richmond High School. You know what I'm saying? So we just couldn't stand the purple team, right? Which again, shout out Richmond High School too. There's a lot of great athletes up there. You know what I'm saying? So, but obviously being at Millsaps and then now being here at Southwest Baptist, obviously getting to learn to love the color purple more. It looks good on me too. So definitely can't complain about that. More than anything. So absolutely.
All right, so the last question. Every guest that we have on here, especially a coach, we gotta ask them what's the best football state?
Best football? Come on now. I just told y'all more than anything. Who got the best football? Obviously, I'm gonna say Texas. It's just because obviously, just more than anything, how the sport is treated in the state. Especially with Texas high school football. I'm a firm believer in this. The best sport in the world is Texas high school football. So, there's definitely spirits that I enjoyed. And, again, I'm not much of a reminiscer. My playing days or for my playing days, I got what I got out of it. And I'll see picking where I'm at today, just with the connections I made more than anything. I'll lose a finger to go back and play, one more varsity game. You know what I'm saying? That's definitely one thing that, I pride myself on. And, I'm a firm believer. Now, that's again nothing against football there in other places. Except there's a lot of the schools that definitely can compete with some schools in the state of Texas for sure. But come on, man, you already know where it's at, baby. Shout out to Texas.
Well, I just cannot let us end on that question. So I'm gonna ask you, what's some advice you got for young coaches making their way up in the coaching world?
Absolutely. Man, I always be willing to work. I think that's more the big thing that I learned right away is most guys want to see most head coaches want to see your work ethic. You know what I'm saying? And so just keep working, make yourself available. I think that was one thing that helped me early on, and I still do to this day as well. As and not just on your side of the ball, like, hey, your defense coordinator needs help with something. You know what I'm saying? If one of the other assistants, like one thing at Houston Christian, my second year there is, both our running backs coach and our D-line coach were in charge of camps. You know what I'm saying? And we had a big mega camp going on. At Houston Christian that. Obviously, man, that represents us on how that camp goes and how it flows and is executed. So, it's any little thing as far as that, like, just make myself aware, one thing about Houston Christian and, why I respect it so much because it really put me in a position to where, we didn't have much, especially being a Division I school, quote unquote. But, we made the best of what we had and, just more than anything, I learned early, figured it out. You know what I'm saying? There's another word that you use part of it, but it's again, it's PG-13, it's PG show, you know what I'm saying? So, but obviously figure it out and just get it done. You know what I'm saying? Find a way to limit this, just get it done, and I remember we didn't have a coach Turner. You know what I'm saying? Well, so at the time, the athletic office, that's where all our offices were at. We only had just one big mass printer. It was black and white. You know what I'm saying? Only print black and white copies. So any of your color copies that you needed. We only had one small one, but it wasn't like just a big. You couldn't print a lot of things at once.
Yeah.
But obviously your big printouts that you need, you had to go next door to the plaza at FedEx. You know what I'm saying? So just having to make runs for them and help them get that accomplished. Just again, making yourself available even for the smallest little things because you never know. You know what I'm saying? One thing that coaches are going to do, they're going to see how much you can handle at first. And if you can do well with the little things that are being given to you. You know what I'm saying? They're going to give you bigger responsibilities. You know what I'm saying? And, it will work out from there. So, big thing is make yourself available and then always be willing to work. If you can do those two things and, more importantly, just continue to, be a sponge and not get so caught up in just your philosophy. Always be willing to see everybody's perspective. And you never know what, that one little nugget they can do for you. You know what I'm saying? So, definitely the three big things for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, that definitely tracks with the making yourself available because we had another coach on here, Coach Dumas. He was talking about how he used to scrub the floors as a janitor.
Yeah,
his first job. So,
I mean, like this. I give a lot of shout out to a lot of coaches that have started at some places, and I mean, I feel I was very fortunate early in my career, just because, like, again, at least I at least knew that I was going home somewhere to go to sleep. You know what I'm saying? I at least knew I was eating that day. You know what I'm saying? I at least knew that. I wasn't one to have to struggle. You know what I'm saying? And, again, it goes back to my support system. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, they see how great I want to be in this. So there's things that they've done to make sure that I'm not stressing about this while I'm trying to do great here. You know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, I've heard some stories of, some of my, peers have gone through, early in their career, trying to get to where we're all, trying to, get accomplished as far as just within this profession. So, I definitely feel like I've been very fortunate so far in my journey, especially where I've been and connections I've made and things that, again, that, may have been tough for other people to do if they would have given this opportunity. I definitely do feel I'm highly blessed and, again, just obviously, again, I'm big on faith as well. So, God is, making these things happen for me so that I don't have to struggle about this. There's no reason why I shouldn't be great at this. And that's why I pride myself on the hard work more than anything. So,
we'll picture you come up.
Yeah, sure.
man, I appreciate y'all, man. This is big time, dog. For real. I'll keep going out money, dog. It's real. Absolutely. This is dope. Let's go.